Coworker politics is on the rise. Coworker interests are on the rise. We are now living in the coworker dystopia. And the coworker is not wrong technically when he says, oh, the future of money is crypto. We had not one, not two, but three different people in Trump's immediate orbit, including Trump himself, pull off crypto rug pulls sequentially in the last 48 hours. You understand? Do you understand? Donald Trump, Melania Trump, and then the Students for Trump guy, all three of them pulled crypto rug pulls to the tune of multiple hundreds of millions of dollars right before Donald Trump was inaugurated, right before he became the president. That is the future of America. The future of America is cons, quick schemes, cons for rubes and suckers. Everyone joining in on the fun, thinking that they will not be the bag holders, but will actually grab the bag and pass it down the line.
Reagan, during his first inauguration day, signed executive orders in this room, as did President Johnson, signed the Voting Rights Act
what
with
about
Martin
black
Luther
people
King Jr. in that room. So it's very historic.
Oh, by the way, I have a hair trigger today. I'm probably going to ban a lot more people. Like, I'm just letting you know, if you come in here to try to derail specifically, just by saying like, what about black people, son? You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. I'm going to ban you. I'm going to permanently ban you, and you will never get unbanned.
And two words for you for what we've just seen so far in the last couple of moments here. Number one, historic. There has been no other president that has made inaugural remarks inside the Capitol Visitor Center because it didn't exist a very long time ago. So this was the first time we saw, if you want to call it an inaugural speech or an inaugural chat, this was the first time a president did this. And I'm sure everyone in Congress is really glad they built the Capitol Visitor Center because it came in handy today on a very cold day. The second word to think about, electric. This is the word that was used when I was texting lawmakers inside the Capitol Rotunda during the swearing-in ceremony. I asked them, how does it feel in there? Because when you're watching on TV, you kind of feel that moment, but what does it feel like in there? And they said it was electric, not just because of the moment, but the people that President Trump has curated in just the last year over this campaign. Like you mentioned, Jeff Bezos of the world, Joe Rogan was in there, who helped him reach an entirely new audience, and also Miriam Adelson, who helped him reach the Jewish American vote. So all of these people that sort of helped him come to this moment, he in a way thanked them for being there, and some new friends as well, like the Mark Zuckerbergs that he hopes to work with in the future. So all very new things for us to watch here, and a really exciting time right now.
Aisha Hasni, live on the Hill. Aisha, thanks. Britt Hume's still with us. And Kaylee McEnany here, you listened to that second speech, and I could see your mind saying, if I was press secretary, how would I answer these questions?
I'd be taking diligent notes and footnotes to go underneath those notes. Look, one of the great things about President Trump that I learned when I was press secretary is accessibility. I recall when Jen Psaki was once asked, hey, did you speak with the president today? And she kind of circumvented the question. And anyone who knows communications picked up on, oh, I don't think she spoke with the president before this briefing. Caroline Leavitt will not have that problem. The president, in many ways, is his own spokesperson.
Oh. Yeah, let's watch the carcass deliver his last speech, I guess.
First Lady,
did we just miss it?
Moments ago, leaving Joint Base Andrews. You can see the plane there waiting for them. The president, former president, saying, stay engaged, saying, I've been doing this for 50 years. Did say something like we're on the cusp of...
Oh, Biden gave a speech and I missed it? Yeah, I don't really care. Dude, I'm not going to lie. I'm having a hard time caring, man. I really am. In terms of like caring about all the dangerous things that are about to happen, I'm going to offer a lot of coverage and hopefully do my very best to speak on the humanity of the victims, okay, of this upcoming administration. But in terms of all the palace intrigue, in terms of like, oh, Joe Biden, ooh, drama, John Fetterman, did he wear a short and hoodie? Like, what were Biden's last words? I don't care. I do think it's stupid and silly that he did that like last second perma pardon thing. I think that everything overall just sucks. I don't know. I can't help but feel like everything is bad and it will continue getting worse. And I don't mean that because like, oh, I got owned and Donald Trump is wait, oh my God. Ben Cohen hit me up. Co-founder of Ben and Jerry's, Ben Cohen. Wait, what? In honor of Doge, I'm launching Doge VS Blob. What is a meme contest highlighting the biggest government spender and waster? We're giving away 1,000 Dogecoin a day. If anyone can slash the Pentagon budget, Elon Musk can. Let's support him. Wait, what? Is this a scam? Is he? I'm confused. Okay, I don't know what's happening here, but you know, I'll try to understand it a little bit better. So, no, he's not. I don't think he's hacked. I don't think he's hacked. But I forget what I was gonna say. God damn it. Ken Klippenstein is already on it. Border Patrol has already been given a list of new intelligence collection priorities today. Homeland Security source tells me it's already beginning. So, as far as like me saying, oh, I think everything is just bad. The Trump supporter will hear me say that and go, oh, get wrecked, liberal. You're only saying that because Donald Trump is president and you feel bad because your party lost. But I've maintained this not so cheery attitude since before the election season ended. I have been on a relatively cynical, relatively pessimistic path since I would say the aftermath of the DNC. Vibes have been bad. And I don't think necessarily that the Trump administration is, in the grand scheme of things, the Trump administration is not going to make America's, how do I describe this? Like, I think we're fucked regardless of whether it was Kamala Harris or Donald Trump winning the presidency. Like, I think America, the American project, is coming to a close. But I do think that Trump will make it faster, if that makes sense. That's the way I look at it. Like, I think that our demise is inevitable. And I also think that Trump supporters themselves kind of see it too. Maybe last time around, maybe in 2016, they had an environment of hope and change, ironically enough. White man's Obama had taken over the government, and it was the first time around, so they were excited. This time it's more about vengeance upon their enemies, right? Enforcing cruel and unusual punishments upon those who they feel have betrayed them. Liberals, trans people, Mexicans, and the like. But overall, I think everyone's kind of, like, even normies, I would say, kind of have this attitude where they feel like things are not looking too good. Things are not looking too great for America, even with Donald Trump as president. Or at least that's the attitude that I'm getting from people that I know that have voted for Donald Trump.
It's a tradition. Sir, the first is 22 cabinet and cabinet level appointments for your signature. Okay.
It's the truth. You vote for division, you get it. What do you mean vote for division? Who votes for unity? What is the unity vote? There's a duopoly, my man. I don't know what kind of silliness this is. Like, you think you're making like an adult take or something, but I have no idea what the hell Melania's wearing, by the way. I don't know what's going on there, but I'm sure Americans really love that. Like, the real Americans today look at that and go, that's a real fit, Madam Madam First Lady. Why does she look like Oppenheimer?
Thank you, sir. I have 31 acting designations and appointments to effectively...
I know what a zoot suit is. Are you kidding me? I think zoot suits are fucking amazing. Zoot suits are the proletarian's garb. I want to get a zoot suit. Don't give her that. Don't give her that. Don't tell her that it's the zoot suit.
He was #1 at Harvard also. You know that?
Good counsel.
They have something in common.
Thank you, sir. Lastly, we have a proclamation ordering that on all future inauguration days, including this inauguration day, that flags shall be flown at full mast.
Very important. It's because of Jimmy Carter that the flags were flying at half mast. Are they signing an executive order to fly them full mast? I can't believe Jake and Logan Paul are at the inauguration. Well, why am I saying I can't believe that? That's the most that is the future. This is America's future. If you want to understand, like, Jake and Logan Paul taking photos with New York City Mayor Eric Adams. That is, oh, wait, is that Witkoff? What the hell is Witkoff doing right there? Bro should be in Gaza right now. Why didn't you
I'm not gonna
go?
discuss it now. I think.
Chat. Obviously, I didn't go because I have never done a crypto rug pull. Okay. In order to attend the inauguration, you have to either A, do a crypto rug pull, like a last second one. Melania literally had to do one last second so she could attend the inauguration. Fascists, right? Here it is. Oscar de la Renta talking about Ivanka Trump. Swipe to see the making of Ivanka Trump's custom pearl and crystal gown. Such elegance. This is something that I have I've thought about quite a bit, but it's look, all I'm saying is second time Trump version 2.0 is perceived as very normal, okay? Trump version 2.0 is no longer weird, odd, unique, an aberration. Trump version 1.0 was not necessarily unique in terms of like what he did, because he was the logical endpoint of the Republican Party, right? And I maintain that position quite a bit, and liberals would get mad at me whenever I said like Trump in 2016 was doing things that the Republicans would do. The only difference was he was more incompetent, more open about his corruption, and also utilizing the bully pulpit to accelerate racist rhetoric, right? Normalizing and accelerating racist rhetoric. And people will get kind of mad at me about it. They would say like, what do you mean? No, you don't understand. Trump is different. Trump is different. Trump is a different type of president. It's like, no, he accelerated down to January 6th, down to all of the election is stolen conspiracies. Donald Trump's attitude was not different than the rest of the Republican Party. His communication was different than the rest of the Republican Party. And I used to point to the likes of Paul Ryan, institutional Republicans that were considered normal Republicans that would get like puff pieces about how he likes to work out and stuff like that by GQ, doing the same exact the elections are stolen by immigrants rhetoric, but using very different words, like never fully openly stating that as a fact, right? Donald Trump, on the other hand, took away the dog whistles and basically went full tilt with it. And it was like he cast aside the civility and the aesthetics of civility. And I think that was shocking for a lot of liberals. They're like, what are you talking about? This is not how we do. This is not how we operate. This is not who we are. But while I was, clowning on the aesthetics focused, optics focused, civility focused, resistance liberalism the first time around, I do still think that level of pressure, at least to a certain degree, created a permission structure and a counterbalance against all of the awful things that the Trump administration was doing. And liberal media also was hyper focusing on all of the awful things that the Trump administration was doing. It's not happening this time around. Okay. That's what's truly interesting. It's not happening this time around. So I don't know what that is going to look like. I don't know what's going to what that's going to look like now. Liberalism is dead. It was already on its, it was already gasping for air, but it's officially, I think, dead. And what comes next, unfortunately for everyone, is obviously fascism. They have capital accumulation. They have concentration of power, backing from the capital accumulators and those who have concentrated power. They have better organizational structure. They have better entry points into institutional control. And very clearly, that is the new game in town. So we'll see what happens next. But as you look at all of these like wealthy aristocrats and politicians smiling and dining together, when you look at our elites enjoying the show, just remember that, this is in some ways going to be the expected outcome. This was always going to happen, but Donald Trump, I suspect, will, accelerate America's demise even more.
Times. The caveat here is everything does appear to be fluid, but Catherine is reporting there is a very good chance this will be far more sweeping in nature. But Dan, you're always so good at just helping us understand the difference between an actual pardon and a commutation, and they're two very different things here.
Very different. A pardon basically means you're erasing any conviction.
Okay, they're talking about Brandon's last second pardons. CNN, while pointing out all the tech billionaires and CEOs, President Trump's inauguration just glosses over the millions said billionaires and CEOs funneled to Trump, and instead treating it as a branding and aesthetics exercise.
But these folks.
And then just scattered throughout are these tech CEOs.
Yeah. I mean, the exclusivity of this room is incredible. I mean, there are governors and high-level elected officials who are in the overflow.
Like, if you're a Republican today and you're watching me right now, or you're watching CNN, you go, what's the problem? Every other previous Democratic administration has enjoyed all of this glazing from our tech overlords. Why is it a problem when we finally have that, right? And I think that's a valid perspective to have. And that's what I'm trying to explain, is that the billionaires, no matter who's in charge, do not have your best interest in mind. And I hope that is clear when you come here. That's why I always say there's no such thing as like good billionaires and bad billionaires or whatever, that they only care about profit, okay? And now, because they recognize that there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of resentment, there's a lot of instability born out of the wealth inequality, that they consider someone like Trump to be a better alternative than the Democratic Party that is seen as incompetent, because Trump represents order with a fist, okay? Because that's what fascism is. That's what fascism has historically offered the wealthy oligarchs of the past. That is precisely what Hitler's bargain was. That is precisely the reason why he was backed by a lot of these wealthy capitalists in Nazi Germany, because fascism will present, at a time when there's instability, fascism presents order, okay? Order through violence, order through brutality. But more importantly than order, fascism does not actually overthrow the pre-existing hierarchy. It maintains it in increasingly more violent ways. That's what happens. It offers stability at a time of instability. Why did Kamala have more billionaire donors then? See, this is what I'm saying. Like, I don't care. I don't like Kamala Harris. I don't like that she was cozying up to billionaires either. You are a regular American. You are not a billionaire. You are not an oligarch. And as a regular American, it does not matter to you whether those billionaires are standing next to a Democrat or a Republican, okay? Both parties in this duopoly will serve their interests. Key sectors like oil and gas will hedge their bets more in favor of the Republican Party. And in the past, tech sector billionaires were oftentimes hedging their bets with the liberal mechanisms of control. Seems like they feel pretty comfortable with both parties. Of course they do, because they are. Because at the end of the day, Democrat or Republican, both parties, with some exceptions, at least on the Democratic side with like the likes of Bernie Sanders or whatever, both parties are there to serve their interests. Both parties are there to manage their profit-seeking attitude. Both parties are there to, you know, do a little bit of deregulation, do a little bit of tax cuts. One more so than the other. That is my point. My point is that both parties under our duopoly serve the interests of capital. What's unique about this predicament, what's unique about this situation unfolding in front of us, is that this time around, the tech billionaires that have presented themselves as liberals for a very long time are, it's not weird or unique to see, you know, oil barons at the inauguration. It's not unique or weird to see the likes of Miriam Adelson at the inauguration standing next to the Republican Party. What's unique is seeing Zuckerberg and the Google CEO and those guys. That's unique. Their presence at the Republican inauguration is unique because they have historically presented themselves as liberals. They've historically sided with the Democratic Party as their preferred way of getting their interests across. But the question I have remains, which is, why are we servile to their interests? Why do we have to sit back and you know, let them dominate the conversation?
150 years ago.
It doesn't seem, is that Amy Klobuchar speaking? It doesn't seem like a democracy, does it?
House wing of the Capitol was built, and in the midst of the Civil War, Congress dedicated this chamber to host statues chosen by every state. Walking into the hall, we all passed under the arch, holding the marble car of history clock. The statue shows Cleo, the Greek muse of history, holding a book to record events as they happen. And as you can see, she's heard a lot of stuff. And as she rides her chariot forward into the future, she looks behind her to remember the past. She remains here as she has for hundreds of years, a reminder that history will remember the events of the present, and it is on us to write that history right now. Speaking of art, the painting right here before you, I chose this painting for this lunch this summer, and it's titled American Horizon.
I don't care about this stuff, dude. Oh my God. This stuff is so stupid. More like silly aesthetic focus nonsense. Congressional luncheon time. All right, let's see what the CNN, what the good people over at CNN had to say about all these tech billionaires sitting side by side, standing side by side with the Trump
and then just
admin,
scattered throughout
admin.
are these tech CEOs.
Yeah. I mean, the exclusivity of this room is incredible. I mean, there are governors and high-level elected officials who are in the overflow. But these folks, we should also remind people, they paid money into the Donald Trump inaugural fund. Mark Zuckerberg and Meta, they wrote $1 million checks. And a $1 million check, I suppose, gets you in the room where it happens.
I agree with you, Abby, but this is about as mutually beneficial as it gets. Because, as I think you said earlier, Donald Trump is the ultimate producer, and he understands branding and marketing and imagery as well as, or better than most.
And then just scattered throughout.
Yeah, this isn't branding and marketing and imagery. This is, they're not wrong when they say it's a mutually beneficial relationship. They're not wrong about that. They're right about that. It is mutually beneficial. Wealthy members of the oligarchy purchase politicians, purchase Congress, in order to ensure that they never get regulated when regulation is a necessity, okay? And also, Trump simultaneously takes advantage of any outlet, any mode of communication that will give him a benefit, that will boost him, that will accelerate the right-wing the right-wing attitude, like that will serve the purpose of pushing right-wing messaging. Okay, Jeff Bezos owns a newspaper. Jeff Bezos owns Washington Post. Elon Musk owns Twitter. Google owns YouTube, and obviously Google as well, and numerous other properties. Mark Zuckerberg owns Facebook. And the last part of that equation, Tim Cook obviously owns Apple. The last part of that equation was TikTok. And we know, and as I've covered this before, TikTok wanted to get in the good graces of the Trump administration, or at least like the Republican Party, because they thought if we actually glaze Donald Trump, they won't get us banned. And we can continue having TikTok. And it worked. At least so far, it has worked. And here it is, the CEO of TikTok sitting next to the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, at President Trump's inauguration. How do people still think the Republican Party is against the establishment and the elite? Marketing. The reason why people think the Republican Party is against the establishment and the elite, despite the fact that it's comprised entirely of the elite and it's comprised entirely of the establishment, and it is the establishment once again, is because of marketing. Because they think, it's the same reason why people think that someone like Ted Cruz, okay, or any number of different like Republican politicians are real salt of the earth guys, and AOC, in spite of the fact that she was a fucking bartender 4 years ago or 5 years ago, is actually not a real salt of the earth kind of person and not close to the working class because she's a brown woman, okay, from New York. Ted Cruz wears the snakeskin boots and can then adorn the aesthetics of the working class. And that's what it is. People respond to that. In the United States of America, because class politics are so muddied, so eviscerated, so thoroughly gutted that how you look and how you carry yourself and how close you are to being like racist is a better signifier in the eyes of many for being working class, for being of a working class background than being quote unquote woke. Wokeness is identified with elitism. The Democratic Party is identified with HR, management, professional managerial class, at least up until now. Okay, and that's it. Now, obviously, there's issues, or rather, I have that same hat. Goddamn. There's obviously reasons for why. Like I think the Democratic Party's ineptitude, in my opinion, has also contributed to this as well. Stop giving a shit. Thank you for the 20 gifted subs. Allowing 20 people to no longer see the ads at the middle of the hour or the top of the hour, even though I don't run the ads any longer. But you too can subscribe for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime. Twitch Prime is free if you want to support the broadcast.
Good afternoon.
Here's
on
Trump's
the greatest
here's Trump's
inauguration day ever.
Campaign head or whatever his name is, the guy who's in charge of like the new
Today
cabinet
is one of the
appointments.
most important days in American history because Donald J. Trump is right now heading back to the White House. I could not be prouder to be standing before you.
There's one thing that I'm also worried about with respect to TikTok. Remember what I said about TikTok, like juicing right-wing algo stuff? I will admit that what is happening? I will admit that I worry about what the TikTok algorithm is going to look like. What the TikTok algorithm is going to look like in the Trump administration. I really, really, really hope that they don't boost the right even and turn it into Twitter 2.0. Because if TikTok goes by the way of Twitter, we're done. It's over. Global permanent neo-Nazi regime. Every single social media platform in the United States of America is incredibly slanted to the right. Now, one of the things that I want to say, one of the things that I noticed that I saw, this is, a lot of people are saying this now. A lot of people are posting stuff like this. I don't know the veracity of this, but TikTok is now region locking Americans from looking up things like fascism. Donald Trump rigged the election. On the left are results from a device in America. On the right are results from the UK. This might be fake. I don't think this is like this is all these people are immediately rushing to this. Like, I don't know if that's a real thing or not. Like I'm looking up fascism and it's showing up. I don't know why people are saying that it's not showing up. I tried it. It's not. Donald Trump rigged election. Yeah, it's working. Oh, it says the Donald Trump rigged election. The phrase may be associated with behavior or content that violates our guidelines. Okay, that's new. Wait, let me see. Donald Trump sucks. Okay, you can still look that up. Yeah, no, I hold on. Let me go on TikTok desktop. Let's see if the TikTok desktop is working in a similar way. Donald Trump rigged election is no longer allowed. That's weird. Hold on. Oh my God. Yeah. Donald Trump rigged election. When you search, it says this phrase may be associated with behavior or content that violates our guidelines. Promoting a safe and positive experience is TikTok's top priority. Oh my God, we're turning into the fucking Republicans. Let's see. Joe Biden rigged election. No, it's not. Yeah, rigged election is not allowed. No. See, it won't let you do Joe Biden. Let's see. Rigged election. Yeah, rigged election is not working. No, fascism comes up with stuff. I looked it up before. Yeah, fascism still shows up. Trump Epstein, that stuff comes up. And I'm pretty sure like Gaza or genocide and things like that still, yeah, there's no deboosting on that stuff. Okay. I don't think it's I think this is just like a rigged election thing, maybe to comply with like, I'm telling you right now, I think the rigged election one might be to just like at a time when they were getting yelled at quite a bit by everyone with suspicions that TikTok might rig the election or whatever. They might have just like simply added this extra precaution. Does that make sense? Because there was obviously an election that took place in America, and considering that people were very upset, or people were very suspicious about TikTok potentially rigging the outcome of the election or whatever. Free Palestine is being censored. No, it's not. No, it's not. Yeah, Free Luigi is not being censored either. You're wrong. I don't know why people are just doing that. Anyway, people are kind of latching on to anything right now. Yeah, I think that it is important for you in this time to not immediately jump to certain conclusions. What do I always say? What do I always say? If a narrative seems too good to be true, okay, there is a likelihood that it might be false. Just whenever you see something online that corresponds to your existing biases, okay, the first thing you should do, instead of immediately adopting that as the truth, the first thing you should do, and sometimes it might be true, but the first thing you should do always is to go, wait a minute, let me check to make sure. He explained this beautifully. It's a 404, can't find the I don't know what the link you're sending me. The term rigged election seems to be the issue. Also typed in Bush and Gore and that showed nothing. This is healthy, okay? It's healthy whenever you see a narrative, whenever you see something, okay, that corresponds to what you already believe. Please, first thing you should always do is check yourself and be as critical as you possibly can be.
Thing that we can do right now. If you heard,
I do think that the TikTok CEO and TikTok in general absolutely boosted Charlie Kirk. I've talked about this before. And I think the reason why they did that is because they thought if they boost Charlie Kirk has Trump's ear, and he will say nice things about TikTok, and he will talk about how TikTok is wonderful for making the youth more right wing. I do believe that. This is something that I have talked about quite a bit. And actually, as far as it stands, it was a successful gambit. Now, having said that, will they continue doing that? Probably. I don't know. TikTok, as far as I have seen from my own personal anecdotes, but also from like some of the relatively shitty media analysis that is readily available, TikTok is the only social media platform that has parity in terms of political ideology. Every other platform is dominated and slanted to the right. Every single one, right? TikTok is the only platform where there is some semblance of parity. This is important to acknowledge. But that doesn't mean that there isn't right-wing content on that platform. Of course there is. Of course there is, right? And I think one of the best arguments that I saw about this, one of the best warnings that I saw came from, what's his name? Is it Garrett Hayes or Garrison Hayes? Where is it? One of the best videos I saw on this. Here. I want you to watch this because I think it's a pretty solid take. Let's take a look.
To have a wrong opinion on a day like today. This is the worst possible day to have a bad opinion because you won't get a chance to fix it tomorrow. But have you considered...
Why are people in here accepting the liberal framing that TikTok is a communist app? Weakest Ugobnik enjoyer. I don't think people are accepting that TikTok is a communist app. I think people are simply looking at the situation and recognizing that TikTok is one of the only social media platforms where there have been opportunities for like actually leftists, communists, socialists, and very progressive people in building a platform. Okay. And I think that is part of the reason why people think that, just let my man, I'm going to let my man Garrison do the talking. Okay.
Consider that a lot of your political enemies want to save TikTok. Like the right-wing propaganda machine known as Turning Point USA bragged that they were doing 60 million views a day leading up to the election, like this just this past election cycle on TikTok alone. If there is anyone who understands the impact of getting that many views per day, it is your soon-to-be president, Donald J. Trump, the man who actively lobbied the Supreme Court to save this app. If you were one of the many people who were wondering why so many young people were turning toward the right, especially in this past election, it is at least in part because while your side of the algorithm is gender justice and free Palestine, there is another side of the algorithm. And it isn't made up of a small number of people. There are a ton of people on that other side of the algorithm. It is essentially a full-blown hate crime factory. Like, it's just convincing people to hate other people. constantly. And I think the political enemies of the marginalized know this. They did the calculations and are trying to preserve this app, because they think it provides them with a strategic advantage in the long run. Maybe just in general. Clearly, it was some strategic advantage just this past cycle. Listen, I love TikTok. This app literally changed my life. I met some amazing people through this app. You all who follow me are incredible, and I hope you'll come subscribe on YouTube. But this is just something to consider. Like, who stands to benefit the most from a power perspective from this place? And
so I don't disagree with this. I think that it's important to also recognize this aspect of it, because on the one hand, while TikTok still has some semblance of parody, ideological parody, that still means that there is a steady flow of insane right-wing nonsense on there. Okay. And I do think that right-wingers understand the value that TikTok gives them in terms of propaganda, the value that TikTok offers them in terms of yet another platform where they can supercharge their right-wing propaganda, reactionary content that creates loyal soldiers for the Republican Party and creates loyal soldiers for the reactionary movement in general. Okay. It doesn't have to immediately, it doesn't have to actually make, for example, young men, right, into people that are card-carrying Republican Party voters. That's not the project. The project is, as long as they are apolitical but right-wing in a lot of these like key issues, they can be captured. Their attention can always be captured, and their anger and resentment can always be weaponized. And I do think that is I do think that that's important to recognize, and it goes along with something that I've been warning about quite a bit in terms of like how right-wing young male spaces look like nowadays. And TikTok, just like every other platform, TikTok is not alone in this, and TikTok is far from the worst platform on this issue. YouTube is terrible for this. Okay. Twitter is obviously the worst one out of all of them. Facebook doesn't really have a lot of young people, but Facebook is also very right-wing as well. Like all of the social media platforms that we use that are seen as like the only places where people can gather and communicate with one another are incredibly slanted to the right. That is devastating. Okay. This was part of the reason why I maintained the position that TikTok was while still churning out right-wing propaganda at an alarming rate, still had some semblance of leftist commentary on it as well. And I know that people will say, Hassan, this is just like silly social media platform stuff. Like, why do you care about this so much? But in an environment where we do not have any sort of organizational tools, and that our production capacities, our forces of production are basically moving away from the assembly line, so that we are more alienated from our labor and we're more isolated from one another, which makes it harder to organize, which makes it harder to recognize solidarity, class solidarity, specifically amongst workers. The only place where people actually gather in groups are online. And online spaces can be easily manipulated. Online spaces can be easily manipulated, easily brigaded, change people's attitudes over certain things. And the more time we spend online and away from other people, the worse I think these organizational tools will become. The more right-wing these social media platforms get, the worse things get overall. Yes, but isn't TikTok most views for progressive content versus other social platforms? I know. That's why I'm saying that like TikTok has been both a benefit and a burden at the same time. But in comparison to all the other content platforms out there, it's certainly not the worst. It's definitely better than the other ones. And that is part of the reason why I maintain the position that TikTok shouldn't get banned. That's the reason why I think people wanted TikTok to get banned. That's what carried it over the finish line.
This one really mattered. And I just want to say thank you.
Anyway, let's look at one of these tech billionaire oligarchs speaking at the inauguration.
My heart goes out to you.
Did he just Sig Heil?
It is thanks to you that the future of civilization is assured. Thanks to you. We're going to have safe cities, finally, safe cities. Secure borders, sensible spending, basic stuff. And we're going to take Doge to Mars. I mean, can you imagine how awesome it will be to have American astronauts plant the flag on another planet for the first time? How inspiring would that be? You know, there's always problems in life. You know, there's this problem, solve that problem. But you know, there need to be things that inspire you. There need to be things that make you glad to wake up in the morning and say, I'm looking forward to the future. And I love you guys. So, and let me tell you, I'm gonna work my ass off for you guys. So, I really will. So, and yeah, but I'm super fired up for the future. It's gonna be very exciting. As the president said, we're gonna have a golden age. It's gonna be fantastic. And one of the fundamental things, one of the most American values that I love is optimism. And this feeling like we're gonna make the future good. We're gonna make it good. So
I think aesthetically American, like the American reactionary movement is so funny because it's also incredibly lame. Like fascist movements of the past hyper focused on the aesthetics, right? They cared a lot about like their visual output. They had this like insane, intense interest in making it seem as though they were superior and that like moral degeneracy must be squashed and that you know, everything down to the minutia was organized. And it's kind of funny to think that like the American version of that is so lame, is so, not to say that like German fascism was cool or whatever, but like they obviously placed a lot of emphasis on the aesthetics of order. Okay, like the visual output was important. The way that people delivered speeches, these were things that they cared about quite a bit. Whereas in the United States of America, we're just like we have these like obvious losers being like, we're gonna place a Dogecoin on Mars. Anyway, here's Cash Patel.
I'll tell you how. He and I share something deeply. We love the American dream. And we have been given a gift by God today to usher in a new dynasty because we just inaugurated Donald J. Trump as our 47th president.
Did anyone catch the Roman salute that Elon hit?
And we just inaugurated J.D. Vance as our vice president of the United States. And we did that because the American dream is alive and well, because you chose that our dream can be the dream for our children and the dream for our world. And we are at a crossroads here in America. But our future is bright because you had the courage to stand for your convictions. So I'm humbled here to talk to you about why I love the American dream. My story's pretty simple, it's unique, and some of you share in it. My parents were born and raised in East Africa. My father in the 1970s fled a genocidal dictatorship in Uganda, where he saw 300,000 of his countrymen murdered, where he saw what lawlessness would do if it was allowed to break through the system of constitutional justice. He fled, like so many others. He married my mother. They moved here. They waited in line. They stood in line because the American dream was worth standing in line for. That dream is woven into the fabric of this nation, and our immigration policy is the greatest policy in the world. And now that we have Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance, it will become the greatest policy in the world again. But dreams and hopes aren't enough, my friends. We got to get to work, and we got to accept the realities that too many of you know from your communities. President Trump launched in his first term priorities of national security, law enforcement, economy, and global diplomacy. But now we have to retread some of that. And I'd just like to go over a few of the things that our community has been living under these last few years. In the last calendar year alone, we had 100,000 drug overdoses. In the last calendar year alone, we had over 100,000 rapes. In the last calendar year alone, we had 17,000.
Bro, that's why we put Pete Hegseth. Dude, I just realized these guys are actually woke abolitionists. They're offering the rapists jobs so that they're too busy to do rapes. Dude, I didn't even think about that. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's why they're like, oh, if you're a rapist, like you should get a job with us so you no longer have the time to do rapes. These guys are actually woke, man. That's
that
what they
face
were
our
doing.
future generations. But thank God we will.
Just kidding. They're actually just saying it's the immigrants doing the rapes, even though, ironically enough, it's the fucking Secretary of Defense.
The priorities that I cherished during my 16 years in government service, that we will always, and women who wear the cloth of our nation and stand on that wall and tell you nothing's getting by them tonight. And so to them, thank you.
Calm down. What's happening?
To our teachers and our frontline workers and our first responders, y'all choose to show up every single day for our children, for our communities, and we will now show up for you. Thank you for keeping us safe. To the men and women in law enforcement, and maybe I'm biased on this one, our police officers, our sheriffs, our federal agents are some of the greatest warriors that God has ever created. And we will put them first because they have our backs, and now we will have your backs. I am standing here because of the American dream. I am not standing here because of the color of my skin. I'm standing here because I earned my right on this stage, and you earned your right to be here with me. And I promise you this, with every fiber of my being, that our law enforcement, that our teachers, that our first responders, that our veterans, that our men and women in uniform who dare to serve this country and put themselves below the rest of our needs will be reprioritized to the top of the heap because they are standing on that wall, and we will not let that light go dark on them. Whether I was a national security prosecutor under President Trump's deputy director of national intelligence, his chief of staff at the Department of Defense, or so many other roles that I was humbled and privileged to serve when I swore an oath to that Constitution, which I hope to do so again one day soon. You have my word that you have ushered in a dynasty of change. You have ushered in a dynasty that will allow our children to live this American dream. My American dream. I am living the world's American dream. I am the son of lawful immigrants. We worked our tails off just like you all do, and I'm going to make you a deal. I promise you I will never quit on your children. I will never quit on their children, because this American dream does not belong to me. It does not belong to them. This American dream belongs to the world. So in closing, I just want to tell you this. It's pretty cool to be speaking in Capital One Arena right before the boss. You've inspired me beyond words. Your love, your devotion, your commitment to our country, everywhere I go, shows us that we are not only the beacon of hope, but we are the land of constitutional justice. We are the land under Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance where we are going to end the two-tier system of justice. We are going to remove the weaponization of the intelligence community for political purposes. And we are going to put the men and women of America first. So listen, there's just one thing left to do. We all got work to do. We've got the greatest president and the greatest vice president in the history of the world. And so I just need you all to do a little bit more. Every time you see a law enforcement officer, every time you see a veteran, every time you see a teacher, shake their hand. Give them a little bit of your time, because they're giving us all of our time. And don't forget to enjoy the ride, ladies and gentlemen. God bless America. God bless these United States of America. God bless every one of you. I'm living the American dream. My name is Kash Patel, and I ain't going anywhere. Let's go to work.
Up the FBI. And you know, this great coverage we've been able to bring you all day, courtesy.
Bro, that's crazy, dude. They have a betting app. Oh my God, they have a betting app that's like sponsoring the inauguration where they're talking about Trump's banning of TikTok chances. Dude, I don't know how else to describe how dystopian America is right now, okay? I just don't know. I don't know what else to say. America's on fire all the time. It's underwater all the time. There are, like, Texas probably is going to lose its energy once again due to climate change. There's like, it was like snowing in Houston the other day, okay? And it's not even like a cool dystopia. Where are the fucking neon lights? Where's my Suckmaster 5000? I don't got none of the cool stuff. The only capitalist dystopia that we exist under allows the leadership to do cryptocurrency rug pulls a day before they actually become the president. Like, that is how lame things are. I will admit, while I do know that things were going to get bad, I just didn't think that it would be like the collapse of American empire would be so lame, you know? It's crazy, man. It's crazy to think. Yeah, the only Suckmaster 5000 is Mark Zuckerberg. at the Capitol. As your Houston chatter, the snow is supposed to come in at like dinner time tonight. Something stupid like 5 inches of it. Oh, Jesus. Oh, anyway, now that I have a little bit of moment, an opportunity, I got my permanent crown put in today. And that's why I'm late. And that's why I didn't get to stream the entirety of the inauguration. Okay. I woke up early in the morning and I had to go do that before I fly out to Japan in a couple days. I also got my teeth cleaned for the first time ever in my life. And let me tell you, fantastic experience, 10/10. Absolutely recommend. Teeth cleaning, I never thought I would experience it. Yeah, I've never gotten a teeth cleaning before. It's an amazing feeling. Yeah. I've never gotten it done before. And let me tell you, oh my God, it's so good. But they feel weird. Nah, it feels amazing. I'm a huge flosser. I love flossing. I'm Mr. Floss. Okay, I'm Mr. Floss. The teeth cleaning is so good because it basically it feels, the gaps, dude, the gaps. Like it feels like I got a new mouth. I got a new lease on life. Okay, that's what it feels like. It feels amazing. A lot of people get upset. Who are you, Asmongold? No, I mean, no, not at all. Like I said, I do love flossing, but I'm just saying that like it has elevated my floss game to the next level. It feels so good. So good. So freaking good. Bro, those expensive electric toothbrushes and water flossers are so good. I love them. I love the goddamn tooth gaps, man. They're the best. You mean your first deep cleaning? Yeah. Anyway, just wanted to point to that and urge you guys to go do that as well. You love diastema? I don't know what that means. Is that the tooth gap? Yeah. I can't speak positively enough on the dental work for sure. By teeth cleaning, he's not referring to brushing. He's obviously brushing more often than he goes to the dentist. Yes, obviously. Yes, when your dentist does your deep cleaning, it's very different than brushing your teeth, chatters. There's like buildup of what is it called? Like, is it called tartar? Like there's a plaque buildup that they have to literally grind out. You can't brush that off. And considering that I have never done it before, there was 33 years of plaque buildup that they just grinded out of my mouth, and it was amazing. And that's not your dentist, a dental hygienist? No, but my dentist's office has a dental hygienist as well. It's called tartar and dental calculus. Thank you. Was it painful? No. You're supposed to do it every 6 months, I think. That's what they say, but I've never done it before, but it was awesome. Dog, how's your breath not been absolute ass the entire time? I think genetics plays a role in that, by the way. I have pretty decent teeth, all things considered. And the reality of the matter is I think genes play a big role. Like your diet plays a big role and your genes play a big role in it. But I've never had bad breath ever in my entire life. Brushing regularly obviously plays a big role in it too. But I'm saying like, I think it's more complex than just like brushing your teeth all the time and flossing. Anyway, ask for your end if you have bad breath. No, because they're going to fucking lie. They also say I fart and stuff. So, you know. And then that's going to be the new meta and it's going to break me. And you do? Stop. Please. It's so annoying. To be fair, I do fart on planes, but on planes only. Deep cleaning would involve you getting your gums numbed and is done the reverse gum disease? No, I got deep cleaning. I did get my gums numbed. Anyway, let's get back to what Hank Green had to say about this whole TikTok stuff.
Maybe this is useful. Maybe this is a useful thing that we can do right now. If you heard that there was like a new Meta pop-up and then Shochu's CEO doesn't have CEO in his bio anymore, but then also Facebook created its first verified account on Instagram, all that stuff happened in the same day, and that's leading you, it's a bunch of puzzle pieces that you get to put together into Metabot TikTok. This is how conspiracy influencers work. They present you with a bunch of puzzle pieces and then they have you put them together and you feel like you've done the work. But the puzzle pieces were the ones they selected for you and may have been entirely made up. For example, CEO of TikTok never was in Shochu's bio, so nothing actually changed. For example, that thing that allows you to use Facebook to pick up some of your TikTok friends, that's always existed. That's not new. For example, Facebook created a new account on TikTok, maybe because it wanted to take advantage of this moment and get people over to Facebook from TikTok. And then there are a bunch of puzzle pieces that are never presented to you in these situations that you have to go and find yourself, because the conspiracy influencer doesn't want you to have access to those puzzle pieces because they don't fit into the puzzle that they want you to put together yourself. Puzzle pieces like the existence of the Federal Trade Commission, the fact that large companies are very large and have many people, and an operation like merging TikTok and Meta would require tens of thousands of people, some of whom would leak the fact that it's happening. More importantly, though, the fact that like the FTC requires publicly traded companies to do a bunch of due diligence and release a bunch of documents publicly for everyone to look at before doing a merger like this. More importantly than that, the FTC would need to legally approve that merger because these are two very large companies and this would have, antitrust monopoly type implications. That's how this works. That's how conspiracy influencers work. They want to get attention, and you should look and go see the people who, led you to that opinion. And you should see watch them put the puzzle pieces out for you and be like, can you put them together? And then think, should I ever trust that person again? And then next time you see somebody taking puzzle pieces and laying them out for you to put together yourself, ask yourself, what's going on here? And am I seeing all the puzzle pieces? When you end up believing a lie, you need to go back and look at what caused you to believe that lie, because there's a bunch of stuff internally that we all need to work on internally. We all do this. I do this. I made a video on Vlogbrothers about a bunch of lies I believed, and then later found out were incorrect, and you should watch it. But there's also external stuff happening. There are people trying to get us to believe lies because it's good for their business, because it's good for their ideologies. So we don't want those manipulations to happen. And there's a little chance, which is a low stakes thing, to check this out, because of course this whole narrative will be gone in 24 hours. But
are you going to hang out with Michael Mez soon, or who's Michael Mez? What are you going to do if you get censored? I mean, I'm a leftist. That much is always a possibility. That's something that I've thought about and had to actively think about my entire career. Okay? That's never, there's not much I can do about that. The reality of the matter is, any sort of anti-capitalist sentiment, no matter how non-radical it appears, okay, no matter how normal it appears, actually, the more normal it appears, the worse, honestly, the more dangerous, is always going to be threatening to the bottom line of our corporate oligarchs. So there is always going to be some semblance of suppression. I have long maintained the position that free speech, or the expansive free speech that we see in the United States of America, can only exist because America has been the global hegemonic superpower. And as America's power on the global stage wanes, okay, as is no longer the only game in town, you will see more restrictions. You will see the true limitations of free speech. And by that, I mean that I don't mean that we've had expansive free speech, or free speech always has existed in America. Of course it hasn't. Look no further than this past year, where 3,500 college students were arrested on campuses for the crime of protesting against Israel's apartheid regime and Israel's genocide. That is antithetical to free speech, right? That is the exact opposite, because free speech is not about saying whatever you want without any sort of repercussions on private platforms or whatever. Free speech is protecting you from government suppression. So when you get arrested for the crime of protesting, which is constitutionally protected, you are experiencing that immediate violation. BDS laws that have made it illegal to protest Israel is a direct violation of First Amendment rights in this country. And yet they've existed in perpetuity, right? Boycott, divestment, and sanctions on the state of Israel. In the state of Texas, for example, if you want to be a public school teacher, you have to sign a piece of paper that says you'll never boycott Israel. You'll never demand sanctions on Israel. You'll never demand divestment from Israel. Okay? And they exist in 32 plus states in this nation right now. These laws were written by the pro-Israeli lobby. Okay? The vice president is talking now. I don't see it because I'm on Right Side Broadcasting and they're not showing the vice president talking. So I don't know. So understand that there has always been limits to free speech, like real free speech. Okay? There has always been limitations on free speech. After all, this is the country where the McCarthyist trials happened. The Red Scare happened. That was a direct violation. That was government prosecution for people exercising their freedom of assembly, for people exercising their speech, for people openly saying that they subscribe to a certain ideology that the government thought was inappropriate and unacceptable. Look no further than what this country has done to revolutionary black organizers and activists and leaders. They've assassinated them. They've jailed them. That is a direct violation of free speech. And in the modern era, look no further than what the government has done to anti-Israel protesters. That is yet another violation of free speech. But having said that, while those sorts of restrictions have always existed, whether it be punishing whistleblowers, real whistleblowers, not fake ones, or punishing activists, that's always existed. What you must understand is that the silly types of free speech restrictions that you hear about in like China, for example, oh, you can't compare Xi Jinping to Winnie the Pooh. That kind of stuff, those kinds of restrictions had not existed in the United States of America. And part of the reason why they had not is because America is so powerful that those sorts of silly things, that level of control, that level of censorship was never seen as a necessity. Okay? It's not even true, by the way. It doesn't matter. Okay. The reality of the matter is, fuck the Winnie the Pooh stuff. But yeah, the Chinese social media platforms do have more rigorous control. The Chinese government definitely surveils certain speech. And the Chinese government is obviously more combative towards political dissidents. This much is true. In the United States of America, there are still obviously criminal penalties that apply for people exercising their First Amendment rights. Absolutely. In direct violation of the First Amendment, obviously. But the permission structure is like the bandwidth for it and the permission for what you can and can't say is far more expansive. But here's the difference. Okay? Here's the difference. The reason why it is far more expansive in America is because America is the global superpower. It has been the only game in town in perpetuity. Okay? Understand that. That is the only way. That is the only reason why America can be like so comfortable with political dissidents. Because America sees political dissidents as powerless ultimately until now. Because as the situation worsens, as the collapse becomes inevitable, you will see the American government start taking actions like this. And I think trying to ban TikTok in this way was a pretty clear-cut indicator of that. Okay? It was a pretty clear-cut indicator of that. Because if you've ever heard me talk about like free speech limitations in countries that are outside of the sphere of American influence, you've already heard me say that, yes, of course, Cuba, for example, treats political dissidents with criminal penalties. But Cuba, on the other hand, has constantly been in a state of war since the Cuban Revolution, a state of war against the largest superpower on the planet that has unjustifiably placed Cuba under a blockade, a country that consistently tries to interfere in the politics of Cuba, right? So while I disagree with this on principle, while I disagree with any sort of limitation on free speech on principle, I do understand from a realistic perspective why certain states would apply certain restrictions to free speech. And those restrictions have existed in the United States of America in times of war especially, right? Speaking out against any sort of war initiatives would land you in jail during World War I. That's why Eugene Debs actually went to prison. Speaking out against war in World War II also landed you in prison. Speaking out against war during Vietnam also landed you in prison. And speaking out against war right now, even though it is not a draft-style state violence in the same way that we have seen in Vietnam, you still see people experiencing criminal repercussions for it. So obviously, when push comes to shove, when times are tough, the American government absolutely has scaled back its principled approach to freedom of speech. And I think, what point are you trying to make here? Can you bring this back to something key here? I am. My point is the same, which is that the limits to what is permissible speech are going to get more and more restrictive. That's it. As America loses its grip of power at the global stage, you will start seeing our politicians panic and increase the mechanisms of enforcement. And that is where we're at now. That's it. That is where we are at now. Permissible speech in the United States of America and in Western nations, for the most part, have often protected far-right speech. It has never had that same level of protection for leftist speech in general, anti-capitalist speech in general. As a matter of fact, it's more often than not used and weaponized against communists, socialists, trade unionists. Okay? That's why historically fascist movements have always gotten police protection, whether it be in the United States of America or in England or anywhere else. When fascists march on the streets, cops march alongside them. When socialists fight back, the cops brutalize the anti-fascists. This happened under the first Trump administration as well, and it will certainly happen in the second Trump administration. This is also something to consider. Reading a script? I'm not. But thank you for thinking that I'm reading a script, even though I'm going off the dome.
Most animated response you saw from Elon Musk is when Donald Trump talked about planting our stars and stripes on Mars. That is certainly something that would likely benefit SpaceX, which has poured billions of dollars into space travel and including the efforts to get humans to Mars eventually at some point in the future. And in fact, there's been this behind the scenes conversation, a great debate going on with NASA about whether or not we should be focusing our attention initially on getting to the moon and then to Mars. Elon Musk has said repeatedly that the moon, he sees it as a distraction. It also isn't part of the SpaceX business plan in as great of detail as Mars is. So certainly you can understand why there were those cheers today from Elon Musk at that point. He's also...
All right, let's get to let's watch the swearing in ceremony as we wait for the next event.
And repeat after me. I, James David Vance, do solemnly swear.
I, James David Vance, do solemnly swear
that I will support...
Wait, I thought his name was I thought his name was John Don Vance.
...and defend the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith.
That I will bear true faith.
And allegiance to the same.
And allegiance to the same.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation.
It's not Jorkin the Peanuts Vance? That's crazy.
Any mental reservation.
Or purpose of evasion.
Or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge.
The duties of the office.
The duties of the office.
On which I am about to enter.
On which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. Vice President.
They want everything, man. They want everything.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chief Justice Roberts to administer the presidential oath of office.
I clipped this Elon gesture. So did a billion people. Bro, Steven Crowder said, bro, what? Chat. Please. You want to know something? Look at, dude, that move from Elon Musk was so insane. Steven Crowder posted it.
My heart goes out to you.
Do you understand how insane that is? My man hit that Roman salute, dude. That is not a sus moment. It's not suspicious. It's auspicious. Okay? It's out there. It's out and about. Why do you say Roman and not Nazi? I mean, I don't know, because it's technically it's called the Roman salute. That's why. I mean, it's the same thing. It's just Sig Heiling. He actually did two of them. Yeah, he hit the back-to-back, the two-time. Grimes, it wasn't a Nazi salute. It was a Roman salute. The father of my children would never Nazi salute. Please, can I see my child now, Elon? Thank you for following me back, Elon.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly.
Yeah, people are talking about how Donald John Trump didn't put his hand on the Bible when he was being sworn in, and I think that's really funny because he's the fucking Antichrist, okay? You want to know why he didn't put his hand on the Bible? Because he's the Antichrist. If he touches the Bible and swears on it, he will erupt in flame, okay? No, because he's Muslim. Yeah, that too. Also, that's true. That's true.
Solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute. That I will faithfully execute. The office of President of the United States. The office of President of the United States. And will, to the best of my ability. And will, to the best of my ability. Preserve, protect, and defend. Preserve, protect, and defend. The Constitution of the United States. The Constitution of the United States. So help me God. So help me God. Congratulations, Mr. President.
We did it. We did it. We did it. Oh my God, we did it. Here, let's look at the inauguration speech as we await further activities from the day, okay?
Vice President.
Here.
Thank you very much, everybody. Well, thank you very, very much. Vice President Vance, Speaker Johnson, Senator Thune, Chief Justice Roberts, Justices of the United States Supreme Court, President Clinton, President Bush, President Obama, President Biden,
Obama,
Vice President Harris,
Obama,
and my fellow citizens. The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world. We will be the envy of every nation, and we will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first. Our sovereignty will be reclaimed. Our safety will be restored. The scales of justice will be rebalanced. The vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government will end.
Wow. I love that that is like the first thing he says. Like his first statements as president is, it's so unfair to me. The State Department and the Justice Department has been so unfair to me. I'm done with that. Except I'm not done with that. I'm just going to redirect it back to my enemies now.
And our top priority will be to create a nation that is proud, prosperous, and free. America will soon be greater, stronger, and far more exceptional than ever before. I return to the presidency confident and optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success. A tide of change is sweeping the country, sunlight is pouring over the entire world, and America has the chance to seize this opportunity like never before.
Like, I don't think anybody believes this. I'm being serious. I think we're doing shock doctrine to ourselves in this upcoming stage. I think what we did to the USSR in the dissolution of the USSR, we are doing to ourselves, because once the Cold War ended and capitalism won, neoliberalism was the domineering ideology in the Western capitalist world, and America dominated the planet. And in that process, of course, we still enforced cruelty upon the global South, and we accelerated imperialism as well. But what I suspect, and what we have been doing for the last couple of decades, I think, and what I think will accelerate even further now, late stage capitalism, as some would call it, is basically turning the crosshairs of exploitation back to the, back to the domestic affairs, back virtually colonizing the interior, rather than simply keeping it to the exterior and offering some of those benefits back to the labor aristocrats, offering some of the bounties of empire back to the domestic population. I think we will start picking at the scraps of what remains of the American government. It's not even blowback necessarily. It's not even blowback. It's just that capital is a parasitic force inherently, okay? It always has to dominate because it always seeks out more profit. And you cannot generate more profit when technology keeps advancing and it makes things easily accessible. There is no infinite growth. So when there is no infinite growth, at the end of the day, when you're done when you're done destroying the global south, you inevitably have to turn those crosshairs back to your domestic labor population. And I think that's what we're doing. The age of leisure, my ass. No, the age of leisure was like the 80s and 90s, right? The dot-com bubble, like all of the bounties of like assuming that we can just like permanently grow and permanently prosper. And then what happened? 2008 housing market crash. Obviously, 9/11, war on terror, 2008 housing market crash. And in that process, instead of slamming the brakes on the permanent growth attitude that we had, the permanent profit-seeking attitude we had, what do we do? Even in our recovery, what did Obama do, for example? He kept up the pre-existing hierarchy, and that recovery process was still K-shaped in the exact same way that we saw after COVID. Those at the top ended up gaining from this collapse, even though they were responsible for this collapse through multiple decades worth of neoliberal deregulation. So on the one hand, it was still very much both Democrats and Republicans of the past that caused the 2008 housing market to happen. And they did that because they were doing the bidding of the wealthy, the super wealthy, and the corporations. But even in that recovery, there was still opportunity for more profits. So it is not an accident that in that time frame, America saw great wealth transfers that continued to trickle upwards rather than evenly distribute down to the working class. That would have been a much healthier recovery for America. But even in that process, we decided, nope, we're just going to keep doing the same thing over and over again. And I suspect that is where we're at right now. I think as things worsen, as societal collapse becomes inevitable, the same profit seekers, corporations, and the super wealthy will continue trying to generate as much wealth as they possibly can. And they will do so by genuinely worsening the material conditions of the American labor force as well. So I think Yanis Varoufakis is correct when he says we are in the age of techno-feudalism.
But first, we must be honest about the challenges we face. While they are plentiful, they will be annihilated by this great momentum that the world is now witnessing in the United States of America. As we gather today, our government confronts a crisis of trust. For many years, a radical and corrupt establishment has extracted power and wealth from our citizens while the pillars of our society lay broken and seemingly in complete disrepair. We now have a government that cannot manage even a simple crisis at home, while at the same time stumbling into a continuing catalog of catastrophic events abroad. It fails to protect our magnificent, law-abiding American citizens, but provides sanctuary and protection for dangerous criminals, many from prisons and mental institutions that have illegally entered our country from all over the world.
I do think that Republicans do a better job of marketing their not administrative functions, but I think Republicans do a better job of just like pacifying the public by not actually pacifying them, but making them more angry. But instead of being angry at the systems, redirecting that anger towards marginalized people, right? Democrats, on the other hand, approach it with like this institutional stability attitude, right? They say, oh, good things are not possible. We're the adults in the room. Of course, we're going to have to give you the broccoli. You have to just sit there and eat this vegetable. And if you cry about it, well, then you're too stupid to understand that it's good for you. Whereas the Republicans will come in and be like, no, we're going to give you sugar all day, every day. Candy for dinner, baby. That's right. Meanwhile, they're serving you the same poison. And even at a more accelerated rate than the Democrats are serving you that poison. Because Democrats do actually, to a certain degree, reinstate stability. They're still the adults in comparison to the Republicans. At least on domestic issues, right? At least on domestic affairs. But Americans, as conditions worsen for them, Americans understand that these institutions are not there to protect them at all. So they don't care necessarily, if that makes sense. They don't care about preserving these institutions because they're like, what has that done for me? What has that done for me at all? I don't care. So they seek out someone who will at least offer them some additional treats or offer them anything, really. A fear that I've had, that I have consistently reiterated through the first Trump administration, was the Tucker Carlson phenomenon. Tucker Carlson came into prominence at Fox News as a WASP nationalist, right? A person who was very good at propagandizing a National Socialist position, right? A Nazi position, but for Americans who, you know, still ultimately think Nazis are bad, at least for the time being. And what he would do is hype up a populist sentiment, a pro-worker sentiment, but pro-legacy American worker sentiment. He would call it legacy Americans. He can't call them Native Americans, obviously, because that's an entirely different thing. What that meant was WASPs, the OG Americans, right? And I often warn that if the Democrats do not engage honestly and earnestly with left-wing economic populism, they will cede ground to the right that will do that. And they will not do that in an honest way at all. They will simply use that as a marketing tool. And that's what Tucker Carlson did. And that's kind of what Trump did too, the first time around, and certainly doing it now. And that's where we're at. In the eyes of many Americans, Donald Trump is seen as the guy who is protecting the American working class interests. By doing what? By fighting against the scourge of migration into the country, by scary brown folk that want to kill, rape, pillage, and steal your jobs, but also steal your welfare. But Donald Trump also is seen as the protector of working class interests because he's going to do trade isolationist policies that will restore the manufacturing capabilities of America. Now, will he actually restore the manufacturing capabilities of America? Absolutely not. I don't believe that at all, because at the end of the day, he himself is a billionaire and also cares about the corporate oligarchy. And if I look at all the things that Donald Trump has done in his first term, his most successful initiatives have always been at the behest of the oligarchs, at the behest of the corporations and the super wealthy. What is his signature policy accomplishment? His signature policy accomplishment was what? Tax cuts. Gigantic tax cuts at a time when American corporations were already seeing supercharged profits. Corporate tax rate being lowered, and a permanent tax break for the top marginal tax rate. And he's going to do that again. All of that actually accelerates the demise of the American working class because it greatly increases the wealth disparity. It greatly elevates income inequality in this country. It is the opposite of what America needs right now. And part of the reason why we have never gotten that is because the Democratic Party is also invested in the same endeavors. They are also bought and sold by the same corporate oligarchs. So we're watching that happen now. Democrats have completely dropped the ball on being the working class party and protecting the working class. So, of course, the Republicans are filling that void, at least aesthetically, as they continue to do the very same things that they did every time they've gotten into power. Deregulation at the best of corporations, and tax breaks for the extremely wealthy. You might get a tax cut in the process as well, a crumb, right? Let's say your effective tax rate at the end of the year is like 40%, okay? Now it's going to be 37%. But the effective tax rate for the billionaires and the super wealthy was already at 0.01%. Now it's going to be close to zero as physically possible. And that difference from 0.01% to close to zero is in the billions.
We have a government that has given unlimited funding to the defense of foreign borders, but refuses to defend American borders or, more importantly, its own people. Our country can no longer deliver basic services in times of emergency, as recently shown by the wonderful people of North Carolina, been treated so badly, and other states who are still suffering from a hurricane that took place many months ago, or more recently, Los Angeles, where we are watching fires still tragically burn from weeks ago without even a token of defense.
He's talking about Israel? Yeah, dude, totally. Yeah, Donald Trump is gonna no longer fund Israeli defense. Just wait.
They're raging through the house.
No, he's talking about Ukraine, okay? And even then, he's not being super honest about that either. I have also, look, I've been right so far on every single thing that has happened before Trump came into office, whether it be the ceasefire and what I warned about, like what will come down the line in terms of the ceasefire negotiations and where it will possibly go and what Trump will possibly do. I also told you that TikTok most likely was not going to get banned because it's like far too important for, American small businesses, and that basically treats are the most important thing for Americans. It's like it's the thing that keeps the American social contract together. Okay. And so heed my warning now. Okay. I have said this before many times over. I do not believe that Donald Trump is going to take an anti-Ukraine stance in the way that liberal media claimed he would. If he throws Ukraine under the bus, what do you think it means? I think that he is aesthetically adopting that, like, why are we giving so much money to foreign nations and not funding our own borders? But what he will do will be very different, because Ukraine is not about, for Ukrainians, Ukrainian emancipation is an understandable, just, and moral cause. It is the most moral cause, okay? For America, on the other hand, Ukraine is not about Ukrainian emancipation at all. Ukraine is about profits. Ukraine is about privatizing state-owned enterprise and buying it for pennies on the dollar. Ukraine is about debt. Ukraine is about our surplus weapons that we send over there so that we can, so that our military-industrial complex can justify larger sums, larger bounties down the line, because now we have to rebuild our supply. Ukraine is about military Keynesianism, building artillery factories in Scranton, Pennsylvania. That's what Ukraine is about for the United States of America. It's for profit. And for those reasons, I do not believe that Donald Trump is going to undermine the interests of the military-industrial complex, as he did not do so his first time around. He might have actually dealt with Afghanistan and talked about pulling out of Afghanistan, but he never actually succeeded in pulling out of Afghanistan. That was Joe Biden that did that. And then Ukraine happened. So I don't think that he is going to, I don't personally think that he's going to do something that's like dramatically different than Joe Biden in terms of dealing with Ukraine or NATO in general. After all, one thing that you have to remind yourselves is that Trump actually ran as an anti-NATO candidate, right? He claimed that he was like, why are we giving so much money to these NATO countries? And what did he do when he was president? It's not like he undermined NATO. He simply demanded that our NATO partners, our NATO allies, give more back to the United States of America, like a mob boss coming in and demanding more from the local Italian food restaurant for protection, because NATO at the end of the day is a protection racket. And it was so not a destabilizing move that the Biden administration continued Trump's policies in that regard. It's not like Biden went back and said, hey, you guys no longer have to put more into the NATO fund. They just kept it up. They continued it, right? And I think that things like that are more instructive of understanding what Donald Trump is going to do next, right? So I don't think that he is going to destabilize NATO or undermine it, or he's like secretly Vladimir Putin's guy, okay? What is this? Hassan is right. He called it. Now media is saying it. Why Biden's Ukraine win was Zelensky's loss. I think that we'll see if he actually tries to do a ceasefire in Ukraine. It's entirely dependent on our profit-seeking military-industrial complex. I think that ultimately that is what matters most. The best possible way to go about it from Trump's perspective, where he still maintains a steady flow of weapons being shipped out to Ukraine, but also gets an aesthetic victory, would be to minimize the conflict to the best of his ability, where there's still need for Ukrainian security. You can still say, you can still ship out weapons to Ukraine, while simultaneously you can tell your base, like, we fixed it. We fixed Ukraine. Russia's no longer invading Ukraine. I don't know what that looks like, but like I said, I don't think that Trump is going to greatly undermine or, genuinely change the trajectory of American foreign policy on Ukraine. Liberals will be proven to be the war-hungry party. The grown-ups who went to the best elite schools can't get any deal done because they don't want to. European liberals literally couldn't talk about the idea of Ukraine doing a deal with Russia because of America. Yeah, I think just as I was an advocate for a ceasefire no matter what in Palestine, I was an advocate for a ceasefire no matter what in Ukraine as well. Okay? I've been consistent on these positions across the board because ultimately, ceasefires and any cessation of hostility is better than continuing to do war, even if the foreign adversary on the other side of that is not willing to play ball and will take advantage of said ceasefire and reignite hostilities down the line. But if hostilities are happening, right, and a moment of respite from that, is still good, because ultimately the counter to that is still going back to square one and continuing to bomb one another. If we had a competent leadership in Biden, if Biden truly was the foreign policy PhD that his administration propped him up as, I think that he would have forced Israel to cease hostilities in its military operations and its genocide instantly, okay? And started the rebuilding efforts. But he never did that. That led to Donald Trump winning the election and also immediately sending his envoy there to actually apply pressure to the only party that was ruining the ceasefire negotiations. That gave a ginormous W to Donald Trump. In that process, I suspect that Donald Trump cut a side deal with Israel as well. I believe that he ultimately wants Israel to permanently annex the West Bank. At least that's what I suspect is going to happen, because that's what Miriam Adelson gave him $100 million to do so. Joe Biden never did that. In terms of Russia and Ukraine, I foresee something similar happening there as well. Like a minor moment, like a moment of solace that is then followed by, again, permanent war, and perhaps even more war and more bloodshed. So we shall see. I don't know. I don't know what ends up happening. Okay? But the notion that there was no negotiations to be made with the Russian side due to the unimaginable cruel and unimaginably violent, morally repugnant behavior of the Russian military going into Ukraine, invading Ukraine, was always the same, like, insane liberal attitude. You're just speculating? I am. Yes, that is what I'm doing. I'm speculating. And I'm openly admitting that I'm speculating. I'm telling you, there are certain things that I have foreseen that came to be true. And this is me further speculating on where I think this is going to go. This is why you come to me. You want to hear my perspective on this. Yeah, that's all I can do in this situation. But as far as like Ukraine goes, as far as what happens in Ukraine, I don't think that Trump would do anything in Ukraine that's like genuinely different than what Biden would have done in Ukraine, especially because the dynamic is a little different, right? With Israel, we hold all the cards. Israel doesn't do the bombings without our political cover. Israel doesn't get to violate human rights. Israel doesn't get to do the bombings without our bombs being shipped to Israel, right? But with Russia and Ukraine, Russia is, at the end of the day, a foreign adversary. So dealing with Russia is a little bit different, because the responsible party in Gaza is Israel. The responsible party in Ukraine is Russia. Russia being a foreign adversary changes the dynamic a little bit. If we had responsible leadership that was actually interested in ending the bloodshed, no matter what the cost, I think that they would have dealt with the situation a little bit differently, okay? They would have offered an exit ramp to the foreign adversary. They would have at least started the process of communicating with the foreign adversary. And the only time they ever did that in Ukraine was when they wanted to do hostage negotiations. So I don't know. Trump has already said that he wants Ukrainian conscription age to go down to 18, because the reality of the matter is, on the field of battle, Ukraine is running out of people. They're running out of people. They don't have the necessary amount of weapons either, but they're also running out of people to hold those weapons to begin with. Go join Hassan? Wait, what? I want the war to end. Why are you talking to me like I'm some Redditor? You should maybe keep that energy for all the people that have made a living off of the bloodshed and the trench warfare, the people that literally kept egging it on over and over again and saying it was awesome and that it should continue no matter what the cost, you know? There's plenty of them out there, and I don't see them in the trenches, in the front lines. And I was never that person for Gaza either. So don't come to me with that shit either. But let's get back to Donald Trump.
In communities, even affecting some of the wealthiest and most powerful individuals in our country, some of whom are sitting here right now. They don't have a home any longer. That's interesting. We can't let this happen. Everyone is unable to do anything about it. That's going to change. We have a public health system that does not deliver in times of disaster, yet more money is spent on it than any country anywhere in the world. And we have an education system that teaches our children to be ashamed of themselves in many cases, to hate our country despite the love that we try so desperately to provide to them. All of this will change starting today, and it will change very quickly. My recent election is a mandate to completely and totally reverse a horrible betrayal and all of these many betrayals that have taken place, and to give the people back their faith, their wealth, their democracy, and indeed their freedom. From this moment on, America's decline is over. Our liberties and our nation's glorious destiny will no longer be denied, and we will immediately restore the integrity, competency, and loyalty of America's government. Over the past 8 years, I have been tested and challenged more than any president in our 250-year history, and I've learned a lot along the way. The journey to reclaim our republic has not been an easy one, that I can tell you. Those who wish to stop our cause have tried to take my freedom and indeed to take my life. Just a few months ago in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. That is why each day under our administration of American patriots, we will be working to meet every crisis with dignity and power and strength. We will move with purpose and speed to bring back hope.
Are you still going to argue religion isn't the problem? Dude, yeah. Donald Trump, Mr. Religion. That is, I'm sorry. That is the funniest. Dude, looking at the Antichrist and being like, wow, dude, are you still acting like religion isn't a major issue here? No, it proves my point. It's not about him, it's his supporters. Dude, what are you talking about? What religious person that is a Trump supporter that you know is actually godly? They're all going to hell. If Christian hell exists, they're going there, okay? Virtually every single evangelical Protestant that is a Trump supporter is perma-burning in hell. If there is a God, if there is a Christian hell, they're going to it, okay? Who abides by the religious standards of the religious doctrine, of the religious dogma? What are you talking about? It's just a weapon to wield, okay? That's it. Religion is ideology. It is a way for people to contextualize the world, okay? It is a galvanizing principle. Religion in this regard, is no different than white supremacy in this regard. Being used as a tool to divide, being used as a tool to galvanize. That's it. You think Trump is a religious guy? You think half of those congresspersons are religious people? Yeah, religious people that think homosexuality is a sin. And then, you know, except for when RNC is happening or CPAC's happening, then homosexuality is awesome, okay? It's nothing. It's not real. Like, this is not a real principle. It's not a real principled approach. It's just religion is a tool, okay? It's funny because for Trump, he doesn't even care to even remotely appear as religious. That's why it's funny. He doesn't even care to be, he doesn't even care to present himself as like a religious person at all. And yet the also supposedly quote unquote religious people love him. Why? Because it has nothing to do with religion whatsoever. It has everything to do with punishing their enemies. Okay. Most people, religious people, if you listen to like evangelical pastors and Christian nationalists, Christian dominionists, and all these other people, some of which are now going to be in Trump's cabinet, okay, they recognize that Trump is not the godliest person. They openly will say that. They'll be the first to tell you that. But they also think his policies help them, okay? And for them, their demonstration of religion is about punishing people that they hate. That's it. If it wasn't religion, it'd be something else.
Prosperity, safety, and peace for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. For American citizens, January 20th, 2025 is...
Look at, dude, I love this. 2 hours after performing a very energetic sermon at the inauguration, Pastor Lorenzo Sewell has launched a crypto token. God, this country is so crazy. Dude, how do you not recognize how messed up things are, man? We are farming the dullards for the last dollars that they have. It's griftonomics all the way down, baby. And ironically, all the way up. It is crazy. It is crazy. Like the fact that Donald Trump did a rug pull one day before his inauguration is so insane to me. And then Melania did one as well. And then another Ryan Fournier or whatever, the other Trump students guy also did one back to back to back. Who is buying that Trump coin? Who is actually getting grifted here? Who is losing their money here? It's his own supporters. I'm not buying the Trump coin. People who hate Donald Trump are not buying Trump coin. People who love Donald Trump are buying Trump coin. So when you do stuff like that, you're actually rocking your own captive audience. It's crazy that this transparent graft is happening in real time in broad daylight. No one seems to understand what's going on either. They just think like, nah, it's great. I'm never missing out like this again. I'm setting up alerts for everyone in that world. 4G Auto Blow, Ryan Fournier, I don't care. I'm getting it on the ground floor of the next 10 shit coins or however many it takes for me to buy an F-15. It's money laundering. I'm sure there's money laundering as well. Like, I'm sure we don't know. We don't know anything. It's just the hilarious part about this is that it's just so unrestricted and unregulated. It's just like genuinely the most obvious scam of all time. But as conditions worsen, as it becomes increasingly harder to actually earn a dollar in the normal way through your wage, and as things get more and more expensive and upward social mobility becomes less likely, what do? You gamble. You spend money on things that maybe help you things that help you feel like the world isn't shit, okay? Whether it be OnlyFans or TikTok or all these other treats that you spend money on. And you think maybe I can also get one off on the other person by engaging in this like cryptocurrency stuff. That's where we're at. So I think it's still going to get worse. I think it's going to get worse and worse. People will, one, try to pacify themselves through a litany of different vices, whether it be drugs or any number of different things. And I don't have an issue with these vices in moderation anyway, but I do think that it spells trouble for the American future in general. But as conditions worsen, they will also try to, grab onto whatever they think is a mechanism of prosperity. What is the greatest immediate get-rich-quick scheme? Cryptocurrency. So all these people, knowing full well that shitcoins are, memes and obvious grifts, will jump on that train thinking they can fuck over the next person. That is where we're at. They think, oh, I'll be able to scam the other guy. I'll be able to get out before anyone else. And that's how these schemes work.
Is Liberation Day. It is my hope that our recent presidential election will be remembered as the greatest and most consequential election in the history of our country. Our victory showed the entire nation is rapidly unifying behind our agenda with dramatic increases in support from virtually every element of our society, young and old, men and women, African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, urban, suburban, rural, and very importantly, we had a powerful win in all 7 swing states, and the popular vote, we won by millions of people. To the Black and Hispanic communities, I want to thank you for the tremendous outpouring of love and trust that you have shown me with your vote. We set records, and I will not forget it. I've heard your voices in the campaign, and I look forward to working with you in the years to come. Today is Martin Luther King Day, and his honor, this will be a great honor, but in his honor, we will strive together to make his dream a reality. We will make his dream come true. National unity is now returning to America, and confidence and pride is soaring like never before. In everything we do, my administration will be inspired by a strong pursuit of excellence and unrelenting success. We will not forget our country, we will not forget our Constitution, and we will not forget our God. Don't do that. Today, I will sign a series of historic executive orders. With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. It's all about common sense. First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border.
Yeah, I increased the speed, chat.
All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. We will reinstate my Remain in Mexico policy. I will end the practice of catch and release, and I will send troops to the southern border to repel the disastrous invasion of our country. Under the orders I signed today, we will also be designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. In the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, I will direct our government to use the full and immense power of federal and state law enforcement to eliminate the presence of all foreign gangs and criminal networks, bringing devastating crime to U.S. soil, including our cities and inner cities.
War on Terror redo.
As
Redux,
Commander-in-Chief,
but
I
Mexico.
have no higher responsibility than to defend our country from threats and invasions, and that is exactly what I am going to do. We will do it at a level that nobody's ever seen before. Next, I will direct all members of my cabinet to marshal the vast powers at their disposal to defeat what was record inflation and rapidly bring down costs and prices. The inflation crisis was caused by massive overspending and escalating energy prices, and that is why today I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill. America will be a manufacturing nation once again, and we have something that no other manufacturing nation will ever have, the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we are going to use it. We will bring prices down, fill our strategic reserves up again, right to the top, and export American energy all over the world. We will be a rich nation again, and it is that liquid gold under our feet that will help to do it. With my actions today, we will...
Remember, in terms of the liquid gold under our feet, this is, once again, another anti-China initiative, or rather, instead of trying to compete with China on the renewable energy side of things, I think that this administration and even the Biden administration didn't do what was necessary to the degree that it was necessary. There was some stuff that the Biden administration did in terms of beefing up our manufacturing capabilities, like battery plants, things of that nature. But there's two different mindsets here. Either you look at climate change and you realize that carbon emissions must be cut, and you work to you spend a lot of money in R&D and try to make renewable energy more efficient and move away from fossil fuels, which is precisely what China is doing right now and has become the dominating force around the globe. Or you supercharge our current existing energy infrastructure that is reliant on fossil fuels with no care or consideration for the globe, including the United States of America as well, obviously, because we are, at the end of the day, also on this planet. And it is short-term. It is it's unimaginably short-term profit focused, but it is expected. So while China becomes the dominant force on renewable energy, although fossil fuels are a finite resource, the reality that even our fossil fuel producers recognize, which is why they've tried to hedge their bets by purchasing a bunch of these green energy, renewable energy companies as well, to make sure that they have some kind of say in what happens in the future of energy. I think we've decided, at least with the Trump administration, that we are going to completely cut this renewable energy stuff and hyper focus on fossil fuels and keep melting the planet. God forbid we collaborate and cooperate with a foreign adversary and try to fix the ecological disaster that is already happening and will only get worse. Of course, we're not going to do that. Instead, we're looking to melt the table. Instead of playing the game, we're just going to flip the table, or rather, light the table on fire. That much is clear.
And the Green New Deal, and we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto industry and keeping my sacred pledge to our great American auto workers. In other words, you'll be able to buy the car of your choice.
Unless it's a Chinese car, by the way, just saying. What's interesting about this is that it's not like Biden was open to allowing BYD or any sort of like Chinese cars to enter the American marketplace. Like that wasn't the case. So I don't know what he's talking about here. Maybe he's saying like he's going to tariff European cars or something. Maybe, I don't know. Because Biden also maintained that trade restriction.
We will build automobiles in America again at a rate that nobody could have dreamt possible just a few years ago. And thank you to the auto workers of our nation for your inspiring vote of confidence. We did tremendously with their vote. I will immediately begin the overhaul of our trade system to protect American workers and families. Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens. For this purpose, we are establishing the External Revenue Service to collect all tariffs, duties, and revenues. It will be massive amounts of money pouring into our treasury, coming from foreign sources. The American dream will soon be back and thriving like never before to restore competence and effectiveness to our federal government. My administration will establish the brand new Department of Government Efficiency. After years and years of illegal and unconstitutional federal efforts to restrict free expression, I will also sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech to America.
This, I think, is extra funny. Saying we're going to bring back free speech to America is basically, I mean, that's just, it's gone, okay? Like, there's always been restrictions on free speech, as I talked about extensively earlier, and I do think that it's going to get significantly worse. Project Esther, under the Project 2025 banner, quite literally has a task force designated to combating anti-Israel sentiment, okay? And I do think that they're going to follow through on that. I think that this administration is somehow even, maybe to the same degree, not even more captured, but to the same degree, captured by the same exact interest in terms of advancing American foreign policy, which of course means no mean words about Israel whatsoever. So I do think that in terms of like free speech, we're going to bring back free speech. Like, these guys actively are anti-CRT, anti-DEI, or whatever, right? Like whatever they call wokeness, that is anti-free speech, okay? In terms of going after teachers and schooling and educational materials that teach the accurate history of the United States of America, that is anti-free speech. Book bans, anti-free speech. That is real cancel culture, okay? No one ever seems to see it that way when the right does it, but that is true. And they're going to continue doing that, okay? They are going to continue doing that. And they're going to further prosecute, in my opinion, further prosecute people who are naysayers of Israel, but also even the American government too.
Never again will the immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute political opponents. Something I know something about. We will not allow that to happen. It will not happen again. Under my leadership, we will restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law. We are going to bring law and order back to our cities. This week, I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
Hell yeah! Let's go! No more non-binary. Like, what is this? What is this? What is this? What What are you clapping for? You're such a fucking idiot, dude. I'm serious. Like, I know that understandably a lot of trans people in this community are terrified of this because this is a telltale sign that he's going to hyper focus on, like, you know, trans people and trying to like eviscerate them from public existence. Okay. But the idea that this in any way, shape, or form, like dominating trans people being a top priority of this administration, is so insane to me. And I keep trying to explain this to normies to the best of my ability, but it's like, if you think that stopping trans people from getting medication, okay, or going to the doctor is going to somehow make it so that rent is cheaper, you are the biggest delusional loser on the planet, okay? You are a bot. You are a bot. You're an NPC. You are the easiest to fool sucker I have ever seen. Okay? So the fact that these guys are clapping for this, like, yeah, it's like, you're like, what has a trans person ever done to you? Nothing. Nothing. They, as a matter of fact, not these assholes in here because they are a part of the elites, but for the average Republican, a trans person has the exact same class interest that you do. They're also working at the same job sites that you work at. They also have to pay rent. They also have to pay for food. They're experiencing the same economic shocks that you are. Incredibly stupid. Same goes for undocumented migrants, by the way. Once again, like, these guys think, oh, if we just harm, you know, the Mexicans or whatever, maybe the situation will be better for me. That's not how it works, and it's not going to be that way.
This week, I will reinstate any service members who were unjustly expelled from our military for objecting to the COVID vaccine mandate with full back pay. I will sign an order to stop our warriors from being subjected to radical political theories and social experiments while on duty. It's going to end immediately. Our armed forces will be free to focus on their sole mission, defeating America's enemies.
Yeah, like the communists within our ranks.
Like in 2017, we will again build the strongest military the world has ever seen. We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into. Proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker and a unifier. I'm pleased to say that as of yesterday, one day before I assumed office, the hostages in the Middle East are coming back home to their families. America will reclaim its rightful place as the greatest, most powerful, most respected nation on earth, inspiring the awe.
Even, yeah, Biden put some respect on it. He'll stand for Israel. You know what I mean? His old ass heard Israel. I'm Israel, ha, Jack. I'm glad that we had a moment of unity there, you know?
Awe and admiration of the entire world. A short time from now, we are going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, and we will restore the name.
People are laughing.
Of a great president, William McKinley, to Mount McKinley, where it should be and where it belongs. President McKinley made our country very rich through tariffs and through talent. He was a natural businessman and gave Teddy Roosevelt the money for many of the great things he did, including the Panama Canal, which has foolishly been given to the country of Panama after the United States. The United States, I mean, think of this, spent more money than ever spent on a project before and lost 38,000 lives in the building of the Panama Canal. We have been treated very badly from this foolish gift that should have never been made, and Panama's promise to us has been broken. The purpose of our deal and the spirit of our treaty has been totally violated. American ships are being severely overcharged and not treated fairly in any way, shape, or form, and that includes the United States Navy. And above all, China is operating the Panama Canal, and we didn't give it to China, we gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back. Above all, my message to Americans today is that it is time for us to once again act with courage, vigor, and the vitality of history's greatest civilization. So as we liberate our nation, we will lead it to new heights of victory and success. We will not be deterred. Together we will end the chronic disease epidemic and keep...
I'm once again saying, President Xi, fire when ready, okay? I'm here. I will receive it. We're so cooked. He doesn't have to do nothing. She doesn't have to do anything. He just have to. He has to sit back and kick it. Okay, as always. Greatest thing you can do is not disrupt your enemies when they're making a mistake.
Keep our children safe, healthy, and disease-free. The United States will once again consider itself a growing nation, one that increases our wealth, expands our territory, builds our cities, raises our expectations, and carries our flag into new and beautiful horizons. And we will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars.
What he's actually talking about when he said China operates the canal, usually there's a slightest kernel of truth to it, like they let Chinese ships through or something. Yes, that's it. When he says that the Chinese are operating the canal, they're saying that like China is using the canal for trade. That's it. Like they don't operate the canal or anything like that.
Into the stars, launching American new territory.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did he say manifest destiny?
Raises our expectations and carries our flag into new and beautiful horizons. And we will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars. Ambition.
Dude, come on, dude. What is this fit, bro? Like, what is this fit? Have some respect.
Is the lifeblood of a great nation. And right now, our nation is more ambitious than any other. There's no nation like our nation. Americans are explorers, builders, innovators, entrepreneurs, and pioneers. The spirit of the frontier.
Bro, also, Barron doesn't look convinced, dude. Look at this. Look at Barron. Look at Barron. Barron is out here being like, I don't know about this. Look at this man. Even Barron's like, you know what? I don't know about this.
Ambitious.
I don't know about what's going on.
Americans are explorers, builders, innovators, entrepreneurs, and pioneers. The spirit of the frontier is written into our hearts. The call of the next great adventure resounds from within our souls. Our American ancestors turned a small group of colonies on the edge of a vast continent into a mighty republic of the most extraordinary citizens on earth. No one comes close. Americans pushed thousands of miles through a rugged land of untamed wilderness. They crossed deserts, scaled mountains, braved untold dangers, won the Wild West, ended slavery, rescued millions from tyranny, lifted billions from poverty, harnessed electricity, split the atom.
We love talking about how like there's so much myth making in China or whatever, or there's so much mythology in like North Korea, and then we say stuff like this. You know what I mean?
Launched mankind into the heavens and put the universe of human knowledge into the palm of the human hand. If we work together, there is nothing we cannot do and no dream we cannot achieve. Many people thought it was impossible for me to stage such a historic political comeback, but as you see today, here I am. The American people have spoken. And before you now is proof that you should never believe that something is impossible to do. In America, the impossible is what we do best. From New York to Los Angeles, from Philadelphia to Phoenix, from Chicago to Miami, from Houston to right here in Washington, D.C., our country was forged and built by the generations of patriots who gave everything they had for our rights and for our freedom. They were farmers and soldiers, cowboys and factory workers, steel workers and coal miners, police officers and pioneers who pushed onward, marched forward, and let no obstacle defeat their spirit or their pride. Together they laid down the railroads, raised up the skyscrapers, built great highways, won 2 world wars, defeated fascism and communism, and triumphed over every single challenge that they faced. After all we have been through together, we stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in American history. With your help, we will restore America promise, and we will rebuild the nation that we love, and we love it so much. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. So to every parent who dreams for their child, and every child who dreams for their future, I am with you, I will fight for you, and I will win for you. We're going to win like never before. Thank you. Thank you. In recent years, our nation has suffered greatly, but we are going to bring it back and make it great again, greater than ever before. We will be a nation like no other, full of compassion, courage, and exceptionalism. Our power will stop all wars and bring a new spirit of unity to a world that has been angry, violent, and totally unpredictable. America will be respected again and admired again, including by people of religion, faith, and goodwill. We will be prosperous. We will be proud. We will be strong, and we will win like never before. We will not be conquered. We will not be intimidated. We will not be broken, and we will not fail. From this day on, the United States of America will be a free, sovereign, and independent nation. We will stand bravely. We will live proudly. We will dream. And nothing will stand in our way because we are Americans. The future is ours, and our golden age has just begun. Thank you. God bless America. Thank you all. Thank you.
Sounds like the United States is back on its feet. Yeah, definitely. We're back, baby. We're back. We're so back. Remember what? Funny when he said America defeated fascism. Yeah, defeated it. Sure. Reigniting it more like, but what do I know? Hold on, I gotta pee.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President-elect of the United States, the Honorable Donald John Trump.
Now he's going to talk about the things that Joe did today with the pardons of people that were very, very guilty of very bad crimes, like the Unselect Committee of Political Thugs, where they literally, I mean, what they did is they destroyed and deleted all of the information, all of the hearings, practically not a thing left. They deleted all the information on Nancy Pelosi having turned down the offer of 10,000 soldiers. You wouldn't have needed 10,000. You could have had 500, and it would have stopped. Because we may have had 1 million people that day, the people that were there. You don't see any photographs, but we have a lot of great photos. But you don't see those photographs. They don't put them in to show the people at the Capitol. But I was talking about that. I was going to talk about that. They said, please don't bring that up right now. You can bring it up tomorrow.
I missed the kiss. Okay, here.
The Unselect.
Where? Is it here? Or is it in the previous one?
Ladies
Here.
and gentlemen, the President-elect of the United States, the
Here.
Honorable Donald John Trump.
Watch awkward moment. Trump tries to kiss wife. This is what we should be focusing on. I agree. Yeah. Did Trump kiss her? Was he looking for a kissy poo? Did he actually get the kissy poo? Will Trump be having sex with Melania later tonight? Will Trump be dogging Melania out later? I don't care, man. Okay? I don't care. She has a hat on. That's probably why. But also, they hate one another, and who cares?
And I was going to talk about the photos. Murderers, absolute murderers, the worst murderers. You know, when you get the death sentence in the United States, you have to be bad because they don't give it much. And he pardoned almost everybody having a death sentence. And if you went through the crimes that were committed, you wouldn't even believe them, the level of violence, the people that were killed, the innocence of people that were killed and children killed by these people. And he pardoned them for whatever reason. He spared them, but they didn't spare the people that they killed. And you know, who knows what happens in the future. It's one of the worst because a lot of times they let them out early after that. You know, they say you're going to be in for life, but then all of a sudden they get let out for good behavior and then they go on a rampage. You know, it's one of those little things, right? But
Yeah, the guys that had their stay of execution and had their sentences commuted and will still be in perma jail for the rest of their lives, they're going to actually secretly get out and kill a bunch of people now.
Talk about that?
At the age of like 75, you know what I mean?
But I was really going to talk about the level of, you know, what's going on. Why are we doing this? Why are we trying to help a guy like Milley? Why are we doing Milley? He was pardoned. What he said, terrible what he said. Why are we helping some of the people? Why are we helping Liz Cheney? I mean, Liz Cheney is a disaster. She's a crying lunatic and crying Adam Kinzinger. He's a super crying. I never saw the guy not crying. He's always crying. I looked at him, I remember.
Okay, facts. He's not even wrong about that. That's valid. Adam Kinzinger, always crying. Mr. Cry.
Years ago, he was actually on my side. And then one day, you know, when you don't want to kill people in wars, they turn against you. Liz Cheney hated the concept of not going to war with everybody. Let's kill everybody. Let's spend a lot of money on military equipment, you know, where her father works, right? And but what she did was incredible. Think of it. They destroyed and deleted all of that information that went on for almost 2 years against Trump. And the reason they did, because it was all false. Like the person that said, I tried to strangle a Secret Service agent. That's one of the toughest human beings I think I've ever seen. I actually had a friend saying, please don't change that, sir. You are the coolest sucker in history. Remember she said, I put my hands around his neck because he wouldn't go to the Capitol. Made up fiction. And I was rebuffed. And the guy on the right is a massive weightlifter, probably stronger than me. Do you think he's stronger than me, honey? You know who I'm talking. Possibly stronger than me. Slightly younger than me, like, I won't say how many years because I don't want to talk about that, but a lot of years. I had a friend that's...
Oh, he's on a roll, dude. You know he's feeling himself. When he starts dropping zingers like that, like when he just starts saying all this like random stuff, he is feeling himself, okay? He's feeling himself 100%. He's like, this victory, this is a ginormous dub. I'm going to ruin this country. I'm going to pick it apart for all the scraps that I can get for me and the homies. Oh my Lord.
Said, why are
riding
you
high
disputing
today,
that story?
boys.
That's the coolest story I've ever heard. That I would attack a karate champion, get slightly rebuffed, and then throw my arms around a guy with a neck about this big. Even though there are bars, there are bars, you can't really do that anyway. So I wanted to talk about that. But all of that stuff got deleted. And the reason it got deleted is they were all caught in lies. Secret Service testified, and they said it didn't happen. Actually, the two guys were very embarrassed. They're suffering because their friends are saying, did Trump really do that to you? But they gained a whole new respect for me. But it was just make-believe stuff, and there were a lot of make-believe stories made up. So rather than suffer the wrath, like the story with Nancy Pelosi, I offered her 10,000 soldiers. She knows it. She admitted it on tape that her daughter made. She's a videographer or whatever you call her, which I'm glad she is. So she can't be in good stead with Nancy. But Nancy said it was my responsibility as she's leaving the Capitol. She said it was, and it was. She's in charge of security at the Capitol. But I offered them up to 10,000 soldiers, even more. One time I said more, as many as you need. But you needed 400 or 500. If 4 or 5, you 10,000, that would be more than the number of people there by a lot. But we offered her 10,000. Think of it, 10,000 soldiers. In other words, J6 wouldn't be J6. There would have been no J6. But she rebuffed them. She didn't like it. No, she didn't like it. Maybe she wanted that to happen. But she's guilty as hell. And now we would have to go through the process because they destroyed all evidence. They deleted everything. There's virtually nothing left. The other fake story and so many other fake stories. And many people came out on our side. And those people now, we're going to find them. There's nothing left. So that's a criminal offense. If that were a civil case, it would be a criminal offense. If that happened civilly where you did that, it would be a criminal offense.
This is the petty stuff that Trump is going to do that I just actually don't care about in terms of like punishing the people that implemented the January 6th trials or whatever. I know that this is the thing that I suspect liberals will laser in on and not necessarily, all of the incredible military action that's going to take place against migration, against immigrants. This is, I suspect, what MSNBC will be talking about a lot more than anything else, really.
So I decided I'm not going to make this speech complicated. I'm going to make it beautiful. I'm going to make it a unifying speech. And then when they said we have a group of people that are serious Trump fans, I said, this is the time to tell those stories.
But the point I want to make today is to make clear my farewell address, as we all do have we have a lot more to do. We heard the inaugural address today. We got a lot more to do. I know from many years of experience, they're up and down, but we have to stay with it.
Dude, I can't, I hate this guy so much. I hate this guy so much. I hate this demon so much, dude. I will never forgive this man for handing the reins over to Donald Trump with his ineptitude, his incompetence, his pure selfish interest in maintaining power, pure ego, dude. And everyone that participated in this, all the way to Barack Obama, who cleared out the way in an effort to destroy Bernie Sanders' chances to basically give this man the throne. Oh my God. It's just wild because like all of the cruelty that we will experience in the United States of America and all around the globe, this man is also responsible for it. Obviously, Trump is going to be primarily responsible for it, but make no mistake, liberals played a formative role in this collapse with their ineptitude, with their position as the controlled opposition party. Straight up.
My dad taught me the measure of a person, you heard me say it before, is how quickly they get back up when they get knocked down. That's what we have to do right now. And we've always done our best as Americans. We never, never, never give up, ever. We're leaving office, but we're not leaving the fight. You're smart, you're skilled, you're passionate. The country needs you again. So all of you can, stay engaged in all the ways you can, whether it's in public service, or the private sector, or philanthropy, academia, running for office yourself. Anything else you choose to do. I give you my word, we believe in you. We, Jill and I, our family, believe in you. Just as I've said, how the laws we enacted, our seasons are going to grow and bloom for decades to come. I say that to you as well. I have no doubt you'll make this experience and take the friendships you made to continue to do amazing things in decades to come.
I'm reminded of the Joe Byron 2019 campaign launch where he was like, Donald Trump is Nazi, he's a fascist. That's why I'm running to restore the soul of this nation, Jack. Remember? Joe Biden in 2019. Everything that Donald Trump stands for is antithetical to American democracy. We're going to fight him tooth and nail at the ballot box. Battle box. Battle bots. Look at them now. Part of that is because liberals take great pleasure in the fact that they get to do a peaceful transition of power, right? That's it. Like, they're like, look at us. We're such adults. We're doing a peaceful transfer of power because the American project is far more important. The maintenance of the American project and business as usual politics is far more important than handing over the keys of the castle to a out and about psychopath.
Can you say, "O'er the dawns early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's gleam."
This is dark, man. This is actually, bro, this is, yo, Sky News done did it again. Bro, there is some deep darkness here. The juxtaposition is wow, ominous.
So help me God. So help me God. Congratulations, Mr. Vice President.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
Congratulations.
Yeah, shake his hand. Shake his hand, you fucking monster. You fucking piece of shit. You goddamn demented old asshole. Shake his freaking hand. You put him there.
The golden age of America begins right now. Today I will sign a series of historic executive orders.
This singer sounds like you. He sounds like Homer Simpson. Someone in the chat said that too.
I will declare a national emergency at our southern border.
It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president.
I gave you the A+ treatment. Thank you. Thank you all.
Wow. We are cooked, man. We are so cooked. So freaking cooked. I saw that I think according to Wall Street Journal, Trump is continuing shipping the shipment of 2,000-pound bombs to Israel. Israel in the process, by the way, has violated the ceasefire that it had placed, that it was supposed to abide by killing 6 people, I believe. 6 Palestinians a couple hours ago. So that's cool. Wonderful stuff. Israel ambassador expects Trump to reverse hold on 2,000-pound bombs. Israel expects President Trump to lift the Biden administration's hold on the supply of 2,000-pound bombs in his first day in office. Outgoing Israeli ambassador to the U.S. Mike Herzog told Axios. Can't wait for the Democrats to be like, oh, see, I told you it was going to be worse. The best part of this inauguration was during all the promises of fixing America's problems. They couldn't even fix the mic sound system. Yeah, okay, well. Sorry, it wasn't 6, it's 8. West Bank is currently on fire. The settlers have lit the West Bank on fire. So make no mistake, the brief moment of respite will be followed, like I've said, by a lot more cruelty. Watch the video people are sending you. Check the video on Elon. If you think that I didn't watch it in real time, Elon Musk hitting the Sig Heil, and that you're coming in here and offering me new information, I don't know what to tell you. Okay? Like, yeah, I saw it happen in real time. Vorlo clipped it and posted my reaction in real time. The tweet itself already has 100,000 likes in an hour. Vorlo's probably going to get banned off the platform for this.
And I just want to say thank you.
Anyway, let's look at one of these tech billionaire oligarchs speaking at the inauguration.
My heart goes out to you.
Did he just Sig Heil?
It is thanks to you.
Dude, right as I clicked on
that the future civilization.
first reply, this you, Palestine will be free. Zionism is not Judaism. Israel's a pariah and will continue to be until the end. I like that this is Nazism for that guy. I was late to the stream. Sorry, it's not. No, it's okay. All the steak clip farming accounts posted a reaction to for engagement. Whatever. Apparently he did it twice, by the way.
We welcome you back to CBS News coverage of the inauguration of President Trump. We are now joined by two New Jersey residents from two different towns.
Bro, Elon had to hit the Sig Heil specifically so that people know he's a real gamer, okay?
Damn, this guy's good.